Imagine a country that looks sovereign on the surface, but behind closed doors, its future may have already been decided. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's the brutal reality of power, strategy, and silence, where a single move can destabilize an entire nation. Today, we're uncovering a plan few dare to admit exists. Yet history has warned us about it again and again. The turquoise waters of the southern Caribbean have long been a postcard for paradise. But right now, beneath those serene waves and across those sun-drenched islands, a silent alarm is blaring within the hallways of the Pentagon. A dormant Cold War ghost is awakening, its rusted machinery groaning back to life. From the shuttered runways of Puerto Rico to the tourist airports of the Virgin Islands, the United States is executing a rapid, trillion-dollar redeployment of force. The target? Venezuela. But this isn't just about oil or regional politics. This is a calculated response to a chilling new reality. The near-permanent arrival of Russian and Chinese military power on the doorstep of the American homeland. What you're about to see is not speculation. It is the deliberate, step-by-step preparation for a conflict that would redraw the map of the Western Hemisphere. The chess pieces are moving. The question is, who makes the first capture? For decades after the fall of the Berlin Wall, America's southern flank slept. Strategic assets were mothballed, their purpose a relic of a bygone era. The Roosevelt Roads Naval Station in Puerto Rico, once the crown jewel of U.S. Atlantic Power, a city-sized complex capable of projecting force across 2 continents, was closed in 2004. Its silence was a symbol of a perceived peace. That silence is now broken. Satellite imagery and logistical reports tell a stark story. Roosevelt Roads is being resurrected. Concrete once cracked by tropical vines is being poured anew. Fuel depots that sat empty are being filled. This is not a simple refurbishment. It is the metamorphosis of a civilian zone back into a forward operating base, a springboard for power. Similarly, the Henry E. Rolson Airport in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a gateway for holidaymakers, is undergoing a profound transformation. Its runways are being strengthened to bear the relentless weight of C-17 Globemaster III transports, its terminals repurposed into logistics hubs for munitions and troops. This is the unglamorous, essential backbone of war, the infrastructure of invasion. Why here? Why now? The answer lies in a 200-year-old doctrine and a very modern fear. The Monroe Doctrine, America's foundational hemispheric policy, declared the New World off-limits to Old World colonization. Today, Washington perceives a violation not by colonization, but by permanent military basing. Intelligence circles hum with a grave assessment. Russia and China are not merely visiting Venezuela. They are attempting to embed themselves, to establish intelligence, eavesdropping posts, airfields for long-range reconnaissance, and perhaps even ports for naval assets. For U.S. strategists, this isn't geopolitical competition. It's an existential red line. It represents a potential missile crisis for the 21st century, with launchers permanently installed just 1,000 miles from Florida. Simultaneously, a quieter, more immediate campaign is already underway. In the shadowy maritime corridors off the Venezuelan coast, U.S. Coast Guard helicopters have been intercepting and seizing oil tankers. This is the financial siege, the prelude to open conflict. By choking off the regime's economic lifeblood, the U.S. aims to cripple its ability to function before a single shot is fired from a warship. It is a tactic drawn from history's oldest playbooks: isolate, strangle, and then confront. The stage is being set with a chilling deliberateness. The props are in place, but the main actors have only just taken their positions. But what happens next will change everything. Because the warships now gathering on the horizon aren't just for show. They represent a specific, lethal formula of destruction, a kill chain designed to blind, shield, and then conquer. And at the heart of this fleet is a vessel whose very mission is to erase an enemy's senses. The kill chain. Forms look north of Puerto Rico. Here, in the deep-water channels, the U.S. Navy has assembled not just a fleet, but a synchronized instrument of war. Each ship has a precise, deadly role in a sequence designed to overwhelm and dismantle an adversary. Leading this ominous ballet is the USS Jason Dunham, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. To the untrained eye, it is a guided missile destroyer. In reality, it is an electronic phantom. Its primary initial role is not to fire, but to deafen and blind. Using an arsenal of jammers and emitters, the Dunham would flood Venezuelan coastal radars with digital noise and sever military communications. Imagine the opening move of a fight being the sudden, complete loss of sight and hearing. That is the modern way of war. But a blinded enemy can still lash out. This is where the USS Stockdale, another sentinel of the deep, earns its keep. As the electronic attack begins, the Stockdale raises its shield. Equipped with the sophisticated Aegis combat system, its radar panels sweep the skies, ready to track and obliterate any anti-ship missiles Venezuela might fire in a desperate riposte. It is the guardian at the gate, Yet these ships alone signal a blockade, not an invasion. The presence of the USS Essex changes the calculus entirely. This is a massive amphibious assault ship, a floating steel city that carries thousands of US Marines, their landing craft, and a squadron of attack helicopters. You do not bring the Essex unless you intend to put boots on hostile ground. Its design is singular, to launch wave after wave of Marines onto a defended beach, to project force from sea to shore. It is the definitive answer to the question of intent, and the noose tightens from multiple directions. To the south, the U.S. has leveraged its relationship with the island nation of Trinidad and Tobago, using its territorial waters to seal Venezuela's back door, the strategic Gulf of Paria. Here, the USS gravely patrols as a hunter, its sensors tuned to detect any Venezuelan submarine or fast attack boat attempting to slip into the Atlantic to threaten vital shipping lanes. Above it all, commanding the aerial chessboard, is a Ticonderoga-class cruiser like the USS Lady Gulf. From its nerve center, it coordinates the movements of every aircraft and ship in the theater, the tactical brain of the entire operation. This maritime encirclement is methodical and slow, but the first strike will be neither. It will arrive from the stratosphere at the speed of sound. And this is where the video takes a shocking turn, because when the attack begins, it won't come from the ships you see. It will come from the empty sky, from bombers that never land, and from invisible jets that have already been watching you for days. The reactivated bases now become the launch pads for a storm of fire. The storm from the sky and the hybrid war within. The opening salvo will be delivered from the continental United States itself, B-52. Stratofortresses, those aging but devastating behemoths, will fly marathon missions to unleash a hailstorm of cruise missiles into Venezuelan air defense and command nodes, then turn for home, never touching Caribbean soil. They will be complemented by the supersonic B-1B Lancer, screaming in at treetop level to pulverize hardened targets before the sound of their arrival even registers. But sustained air dominance requires a local heartbeat. This is the resurrected purpose of Roosevelt Roads. From its runways, F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters will become door kickers. Their mission: to penetrate Venezuelan airspace unseen and eliminate the sophisticated Russian-made S-300 air defense systems, clearing the sky for non-stealth aircraft. Overhead, MQ-9 Reaper drones will loiter for endless hours, their unblinking eyes tracking mobile missile launchers, waiting for the authorization to strike with Hellfire missiles. Meanwhile, the unique V-22 Osprey, a tilt-rotor aircraft blending helicopter and plane, will ferry Special Forces teams from the USS Essex deep behind enemy lines, a dagger aimed at the regime's heart. All this machinery of war thirsts for fuel. KC-130. Hercules tankers will orbit just outside the threat zone, becoming flying gas stations that allow fighters to remain on station for hours, turning minutes of combat presence into days of relentless pressure. Yet the U.S. faces not one enemy, but two intertwined adversaries: the conventional Venezuelan military and the powerful militarized drug cartels that operate as a state within a state. The Venezuelan defense will be a hybrid, desperate resistance. Its military, though outgunned, will use its deep knowledge of the terrain, dispersing assets and mobilizing a vast, if poorly equipped, militia force. The cartels will wage asymmetric war, using their networks of fast boats and jungle trails to evade blockade, blending smuggling routes with guerrilla tactics to sow chaos and complicate any U.S. advance. Into this volatile mix, a wild card is thrown: Russia. Beyond diplomatic support, Moscow is likely to supply long-range loitering munitions, akin to the Shahed drones used in Ukraine. These cheap, deadly systems could be launched from hidden locations to swarm U.S. logistics hubs at Roosevelt Roads, or even harass warships, offering Venezuela a potent tool of asymmetric retaliation. What unfolds is a layered, brutal scenario: a U.S. campaign combining overwhelming aerial surveillance, precision decapitation strikes, and rapid amphibious seizures to isolate the regime, all while fighting a shadow war against cartel insurgency. Venezuela would counter with mass mobilization, terrain-based guerrilla tactics, and potentially drone terrorism supplied by a distant patron. It is a recipe for a conflict that is both high-tech and profoundly primitive, a war of algorithms in the sky and ambushes in the jungle. The Caribbean sun now sets on a different horizon, one dotted with the gray silhouettes of warships and the fresh concrete of reborn bases. This is not a video game scenario or a theoretical exercise. It is the visible, tangible preparation for a war that would ripple across the globe, destabilizing economies, triggering refugee crises, and shattering the fragile peace of an entire hemisphere. The decisions made in Caracas, Moscow, Beijing, and Washington in the coming months will determine whether this kill chain remains a deterrent or becomes a trigger. The world is watching a classic tragedy unfold, where ancient doctrines collide with modern ambitions. And the price of miscalculation is measured in lives. This is the reality of 21st century brinkmanship. If you want to understand the economic tremors that precede these geopolitical earthquakes, the hidden financial pipelines that fund conflicts, and the human cost buried in the balance sheets, then you need to follow the money. Subscribe to Economic Tales, where we decode the strategies that shape our world before they shape our headlines.